The word is apoplectic. Apoplectic meaning overcome with anger. Why am I angry? Why not just be chill and easy and cool? That's exactly what I planned. But every piece of technical gizmo, what's it, decided that today was the day it was just going to refuse to work. My internet, Visual Studio, my microphone, OBS. I mean, I can go on and on. So many things decided that today, right now, immediately, actually it was 45 minutes ago, just refused to work properly. In fact, I don't know if at any moment my internet's going to decide to throttle. That was the first thing that I saw that was like, wait, what? I can't, what? And then I don't want to think about it. That was garbage. What the hell was that? There are days that the technology we rely on refuses to do what we want. And part of this is just, life. Things happen. Totally cool. That's actually part of life. And the fun challenge of life is the fact that things will go right and things will go wrong. And in between and up and down and all around, we navigate that. As sentient beings, this is actually kind of fun. It's a bit thrilling. Sometimes a challenge. Sometimes triumphant. Yeah. Okay, so philosophy aside, let's talk about design, because we've mentioned before, if there's a game that's set up, ready to play, and there's no one there to play it, is it a game? And the answer is no, it's not. Same goes with any software. If there is a tool ready to be used, and there's no one there to use it, is it a tool? And the answer is no. It only becomes a useful thing. It only becomes an interactive thing. It only becomes an active thing if and when a user uses it. This is the fundamental notion of user experience design, UX design. If it doesn't work for your users, it don't work. It's actually that simple. And it's enraging when engineers when software developers so confident in their own ability that they ignore the user in favor of the systems they create. That is an enraging state because it does not matter. You're adorable, but it does not matter how good your program is if it doesn't work for the user. This morning I updated Visual Studio, and one of the things I was thinking of doing today is jumping back into this game, Small Towers, and showing off the smallest of small tweaks that we might do. Having noticed a minor, tiny little bug, I said, well, shoot, that's actually a nice thing to talk about. Let's jump into Visual Studio and talk about it. It was in next to the idea that I would go in and tweak the AI for the bots that are playing right now, player 1, player 2. could be tweaked a little bit to say, hey, if you got enough for a wizard, dude, spawn a wizard. And I can't specifically, with the AI that I have, say spawn a wizard for sure. However, there are some other conditions I could do. And so having enough gold for a wizard is a start. Making sure you don't already have a wizard is another thing to look for. You know, there are some extra conditions I can use. So now, you know, I've tweaked that a little bit just to see if they spawn the wizard a little more often, using the spells a little more often, a little more, not much more, because if it go too much, then there's just a bunch of wizards, and games actually tend to last a long time, it seems. Still have to look at that. I'm chilling. I am chilling out with my coffee. I am chilling. We got the holiday lights going. I'm chilling out while I'm describing the frustrating morning I had. So we could tweak the AI, and actually that is up right now. The other thing is tweaking a shader that the archer uses when they angle up and angle down. They need to launch their arrow at an angle, you know. And they do this because the shader allows this top part of the archer's body to rotate. Funny thing, when it rotates, the default behavior of textures, the image, is to wrap around. So if it goes off screen or off the tile of the sprite, it appears on the other side of the sprite. And here I am rotating this upper part of the archer, the upper body. And as I did, you could kind of see pieces of the bow and pieces of his hood appear up in the upper corners of the sprite because it was wrapping around. I was rotating the image of the upper body of the archer, and pieces of it would appear in odd places. Well, it is shader code, so I go in to modify the code to deal with that. And this is something else I wanted to show on stream. Maybe not right now, just on a stream. And Visual Studio says, oh, well, it's time to update. It's time to update Visual Studio. And I say, okay, like I normally do. Just, okay, sounds good. It updates. Fine. I go back in, and funny, the text of my code loads up, takes a lot longer to load up, and then grays out. And it grays out? Wait, what's going on? Is that communicating something? And I changed some code, and it seems to think about it for longer, get bright again, and then gray out. And I'm like, hold on, did I do something wrong? I close Visual Studio, open it again, look at my stuff, and it's bright, and then it grays out again. What? What's happening? I search online. Of course, there's no recent description of this issue because it just updated. It is like literally a today update. I don't think the internet has had time to react to this problem, whatever this is. I'm not finding any solutions to this issue. It just looks like something's wrong, but nothing's wrong. Is something wrong? What's going on? There's nothing different about my code at all. At all. I literally just updated Visual Studio and something looks wrong. And it's getting in my way. At some point, at some level, this is the software developers positive that they are doing good things for the systems they create, irrespective of the user who has to use the systems. That is awful. UX design. You've forgotten the user, you lose. Like, it's that simple, and yet it happens everywhere. I see it in every piece of software. There are few exceptions where they really pay attention to UX design and they do it great. But I can think of a few glaring examples of just an indignation toward the user and the player, where it is just their fault if they have problems working with our software. That's their attitude, and it shows because it is a bear to work with. I'm looking at you, Epic. There are other examples. I don't want to single out Epic and say that's the only one. Oh my goodness, no. But it's not rocket science. People use software. And some software does not need to be used directly by people, granted. But the software that does need to interface with a human has to interface with the human. It's not rocket science. If the user doesn't get it, if the player doesn't understand what's going on, if things get in the way of the user doing what the user wants to do, that is not the user's fault. The core principle of UX design is it is never the user's fault. It is a design issue. It is the developer's fault. Straight up. In design, we constantly come back to the people who are the audience, the player, the user. We come back and we say, how's it working? What did you expect? What could be better? What works well? How's it working? What opportunities could we take? What have you noticed? In entertainment design, this gets very finicky, all the way down to, did you feel like you were the character? Did you feel like you were inside the world? Were you ever distracted from that? It gets really finicky. It's very sensitive. UX design in entertainment is critical. And another software development, if you're using your little, Blue Sky app or something, you might not say, well, who cares? Right? You might not say it's mission critical that I feel like I'm inside the Blue Sky. Like that doesn't make a lot of sense. But it's still very, very true. If I don't pick up the app and feel like I already know how to use it, if I have to struggle with it to do what I want to do, I'm more inclined to not use it, to uninstall, to use it less frequently, to use it incorrectly. I'm more inclined to give up and use something else. And hey, business, that means you just lost a customer. Like it relates to business too. This isn't all, foo-foo artistic stuff. Although in entertainment it absolutely is, as well as being business. UX design is not design of the pretty icons in your UI. It is not graphics. UX design is the experience design, which includes how it appears and how it sounds and how it interacts and how it moves and how it changes and how it meets the expectations of the user and clears the path for them to get the thing done that they want to get done. Even if, as in the case of games, that means clearing the path to the possibility of losing a game. That's part of what players do. They promise to play the game win or lose. That's what players do. And that's what they need. And if you get in the way of that, bro, that's a problem. I did not expect to talk about UX design. I did not expect to be totally tilted before I even started stream. But the point is, this is preventable. Again, not rocket science. It's preventable when you always put the user at the center of your design decisions. If at any time you're going to leave it up to the user to figure it out, or else you are losing. You are doing it wrong. If at any time you say, if at any time you lose sight of what the user sees, what they understand, what they want to do, you are losing. Back up, try again. You're adorable. That is incorrect. Presentation is a form of communication that specifically says, know your audience, so you know how to speak to them. You know what they're ready to hear. You know how they need to hear it. By the same token, all of our interactive software necessarily relies on presentation to ensure the user understands what's happening. That means we need to understand the user. So if you're losing sight of it, you're losing. Wow, I did not mean to rant about UX design, but it is everywhere and it's not hard. It's not hard. You have to know that you're going to test based on how people interface with what you're doing. It's fine for the artist to say, I'm going to take out a canvas and paint, throw it down, I'm going to put it in a gallery, and if the audience takes it or leaves it, that's fine. It's up to them. You know, that's fine. That's what art is. That's cool. Design puts stuff together and puts it up in front of people and asks the question, is this good? Could it be better? And then goes back and plans to revise it until it cannot be revised any further, which often is never. The difference is significant, and it's centered on the user. In other words, going back to linking it all together, it is business. It's about customers. Those are your users. The customer's always right. That's another axiom that makes some sense here. And another way to say that is it's never the user's fault. It is the same thing. It makes for a more reliable experience for your customers. My goodness, even if I'm just making this hobby project and I have no actual paying customers, the point is, what I'm practicing is good design if I pay attention to the player, if I pay attention to the user. If I know who they are, if I know what they need, and I'm speaking to them where they are. Otherwise, what are we doing? I mean, it drives me up a wall when really talented engineers ignore people. Right? There's rare cases where the software they make never has to interface with people. Rare. Because in some way, maybe twice removed, 3 times removed, it is dealing with people. If they haven't thought about that, it's a problem. I was planning on talking about other things. But I mean, this is more critical. If you're losing on this front, if you're losing on getting in touch with the player, you are losing, period. And what the audience experiences is from a different perspective, but it's the same thing. An audience plays a game and just feels, oh, I was like in the world, you know. An audience watches a movie and they're saying, oh, I was that character. They're changed by the end. They're definitely immersed in it while they're there, and they're even thinking about it. It's persistent afterwards. These are the goals of entertainment for sure. Definitely for games as well. And you don't get there by accident, right? There is no business plan that relies on accident. And in the entertainment industry, if you want to actually make money and not throw money away, then you need to understand your customers are always right, that the user is never wrong. And it is your responsibility to know who they are and present to them and meet their expectations and design. And design properly. Excuse me. It's a good thing I have coffee. You like coffee? That was frustrating. It was a frustrating morning. I didn't mean it to be a frustrating morning. I meant to just turn on streaming and do things. But goodness me, it is a very important point. It does relate to game design and software development in general. In a way, it relates to the changes we made to small towers, because I would like to make sure, for example, the bots actually show off wizards and spells. So tweaking it so they have more wizards and cast more spells is good. I care about the tiny little details that one may notice. Literally that shader problem with an archer that angles up. Okay, well, first of all, it's got to be an archer, and they have to be angling up or down for you to see the problem at all. Second of all, it's a tiny problem. On the sprite of the archer, it's like these little floating pixels around them. Like a few pixels. It's actually very, very, very subtle. Against the certain background, you would actually never see it. And then, get this, I actually fixed this problem for the archers who are going from left to right. Player 1 archers, those were fixed. This problem actually only appears on the player 2 archers, the ones going right to left. Okay, that's how finicky this little tiny problem was. I'm strict about the philosophy of design. And it serves well to pay attention to these tiny, tiny details. It is also the exact same process. To say, I'm going to look for the things that could be better and then focus on it, make it better. That's design. To say, yeah, even those tiny little pixels that no one's going to notice on one side of the archer's, yes, that tiny, rare little detail, yes, that could also be better, so I will focus on it and make it better. Obviously, this is a hobby project. I'm not making money off of this. I don't plan to. It's not what it's about. It's actually so that chat has something to do while I do boring things like yap for half an hour about UX design. That's what it's for. But it's also for the love of design and for the love of the process that you practice in design. This process of finding the thing that's out of place, finding the thing that could be better, finding the opportunity you haven't taken yet, focusing on it and taking it, fixing it, doing it. Over time, the thing starts with nothing and becomes something but ugly, and then something but looks better, and then something that looks finer, and then almost done, and then at some point I stop working on it and it's done. And some people look at the end product and say, whoa, okay, thank you, cool. I mean, it's for you. Please enjoy. I hope it meets your expectations. If not, let me know. But really, it's the practice. Getting better and better at this practice took time, but it took practice. The time was spent doing this practice. The time was spent noodling tiny details that no one would ever see. The time is spent thinking about the user and what they might expect, what they want, what they need. Even if it's counterintuitive, like they need the possibility of losing in a game, right? It's a great example. In the hobby projects that I do, I am continuing the practice that I do whether I get paid or not. In that way, I am always having fun doing the things that I want to do, whether I get paid or not. And I mean, I guess, could I make money off this? I think I could. I was actually very curious about what it would take to go the step further and have it releasable, acceptable by, say, Steam to sell, acceptable on Twitch to deploy the way it's supposed to be deployed, effectively decoupling my personal self from this software and plugging in others. I've gone down the road enough to realize, okay, it's probably not that much of a deal. There's a little bit of time and expense that I don't necessarily want to spend. If it just sat here, fine. Custom made game just on my channel, fine. Totally, that's fine. That's what it started out to be. I haven't spent any more time than I originally planned to do, and it is absolutely meeting the requirements and expectations I wanted for this project. So, yay. At the same time, I've been practicing the stuff I like to do. It's around this time in the holidays, speaking of the Christmas lights that are going on, it's around this time that I have the itch to make some small game. It's true, I've been making a larger game for the whole year. But it's around this time, no matter what's going on, even if I'm professionally making other games and all kinds of stuff, that I want to just make something hobby-wise. A small hobby project. It's often about small characters, combat, things like this. This is a visual example of the kind of thing that I always get the itch to do right around this time of year. And it's always been that way. There's been several games that have come out of this time of year. And so, although I had to stop one hobby game project and start this, what I ended up doing was continuing the practice that I enjoy and even refining some of the processes that I do. Say, when I start the project, when I scope it out, when I plan for the tasks that need to be done, when I think of the features ahead of time and work out the ones that I have never done before, prototyping, developing the art, getting playtesters, polishing. That whole process has been refined as well. And I use this in my professional environment. I use this all the time. It's just all the same thing. And I'm lucky in that way that I can do this kind of work as a hobby and as a profession, and I enjoy the crap out of all of it. What I hope is, not only is this a fun game that chat can play just for laughs and to keep yourself entertained while I'm talking about random stuff, or playing Valorant, or playing Bioshock, or whatever. But I'm hoping that, especially this channel, provides a platform to talk about what you could do, how these lessons that I learn can translate to lessons that you can learn, that the practice I do can translate to practice that you can do. Not that we're going to do the same things, of course. But that you make less mistakes than I did, maybe. That you avoid common pitfalls that I see all the time, like bad UX design. That we continue to make better experiences for our users, whether we're making games or other entertainment or software or art. Am I calm yet? I don't know. I need another cup of coffee. So tilting. And my frames haven't really dropped that much, but there has been a little hiccup here and there, so keep an eye on that. Hey bots, how are games going? No wizards, but there's only been a few matches. Average match time is small. It's good. All right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can take comfort in knowing that, yes, when done well, UX design serves all kinds of development really well. Anytime anything needs to interface with a human, it's better if you've performed UX design properly. I can take comfort in knowing that I see the problems that others do with this, and I can avoid them. I can take comfort in positive results in terms of interfacing with humans. We get some playtests going, and players tell me where it's not working, and we fix it. And then players tell me, well, effectively showing me that it's working. Those are good things. I think anger does serve a purpose. I guess circling back to philosophy. The anger I was feeling previously is serving the purpose of focusing my attention on the thing that really needs fixing. Right? In general, what needs fixing is, man, we all need to pay way more attention to the user, to the player, to the audience. And do not lose sight of that. That is a really critical error. That point was highlighted. Yeah, big time. Having gone through that, having talked about it, I do feel better. Hey, just chatting. This background is not the intended background for this game, but it works really well. I found it and saw the colors, and it does seem to work really well for this game, especially since it's dark on the bottom. All of the game, Small Towers, works really well. So right now, these archers that are in the center, they are player 2 archers pointing to the left, and they are shooting their arrows to the left. They're also angling way up. It's at this time you could, if you really squint, you could see little pixels appear in the air just above them, right around them. If they were angling all the way up, you would see like the bow or their hood. These little pixels appear there. Now you don't. That has been fixed. Tiny, tiny, tiny details. At this stage of development of this game, that's where we are, right? Subtly tweaking the AI to spawn wizards a little more often, right? Taking away the tiny pixels that one side saw when archers angled all the way up. I mean, this is super small. These are very small changes. And that's what it means to polish and tune. That's what we do at the final stage of development. As we will continue to do with Shuffle Wars and other things, we will talk about developing games, software development, in these stages, concept, prototype, alpha, beta, and final. And having done this for a while, confident that it's just a very consistent, very conventional way to get software done completely and reliably and meeting the needs of the user. And what more could you ask for, right? In the design of this game, there are extra features that we've left on the table. Additional upgrades. It's not a bad thing. I don't necessarily call it a cut. Like, I'm not cutting features of the game to get the game done. And I hate the philosophy that that's actually part of the process. It is not. That's just poor planning if you have to do that. If you have to plan for cutting features, you are not planning your project well. Instead, these were enhancements to features we did implement, actually. And they were kind of loose ideas surrounding the enhancements we did. I mean, the features we did. We planned on upgrades, for example, the tower, pouring boiling oil. We planned on other upgrades we thought of other upgrades for the tower, a catapult, a roof, ballista, things like that. We thought of other upgrades for the archers, like crossbow bolts and firing twice as often, things like that. Instead of looking at them like features we needed to do, it's better to think of them as options, ideas, that we prioritized and eventually left the lower priority ones off. It was higher priority to have a way for archers in a tower to actually do something about the marauders at the base of the tower, because they can't fire at them. The angle's too steep. Pouring boiling oil solves that problem. That's a good upgrade. Having one upgrade per thing is actually a really important feature for the player to just understand the game. It's simpler than several levels of upgrades. It's just one. You can upgrade, right? In the context of a short game that might last less than 10 minutes, yeah. There's not 7 different upgrades on each thing. There's one. You don't have to upgrade, but you can. And when you do, it's going to be valuable. that's meeting the needs that I think outweigh all others, which is the user is satisfied. The user has their needs understood and met. UX design, proper. So, okay, have I yapped? I think I have. Plenty. 100%. I didn't plan on that yap. I was just pushed into it by circumstances beyond my control. It's okay. I will talk about shaders. I will show the fix to that shader thing. I will talk about the AI. In fact, man, I'm coming so close to saying I really need to do a refactor of the AI because it's just garbage in the code. It just looks ugly. I say refactor because the functionality would be exactly the same. I would just make it look prettier in code. And I'm squinting when I say this because there's like no reason to do that. It would be marginally better to maintain, I guess, but meh. If the bots are already doing the job, if I'm only needing to tweak it and tune it a little bit more to make it better, then like, why? So I'm on the fence on that one. And otherwise, yeah, I'm kind of done. Small Towers looks pretty cool the way it is. It's definitely ready for players to play. I found out I needed to turn off unique chat. I think I need to do that every single time I start a stream, which is a pain in the butt, and I wish the game itself could do it. Yeah, something about the Twitch API, blah, blah, blah. It's easy enough for me to just enter the command in chat when I start a stream, so as long as I remember to do that. Whatevs. Hey, if you're interested in watching an ape in a jungle, making games, talking about games, playing games, then follow. Hit the heart button. Smash it with love. And follow, get the alerts that we're going on stream, because honestly, like with the technical problems this morning, I had no way of sticking to a schedule. I planned to start at the top of the hour, and it was 45 minutes later when I could actually stream. Thank you, internet provider, whatever it is, I don't know. It's fine. It's good. We're having fun. I'll stream again later with some software, and then I'll stream again later with some games, and we'll play some games and blah, blah, blah. Have fun. Talk soon. Bye-bye.